Watching Lewis Hamilton struggle through his final season with the Mercedes F1 team confused many fans. We saw the most successful F1 driver ever fail to beat his relatively inexperienced teammate over the course of an entire season. Hamilton fans had to suffer their driver's constant complaints about a Mercedes car, which was occasionally competitive, but more often than not, completely off the pace. The team seemed to have no clue what was going wrong, but Mercedes have recently revealed that they knew exactly why Hamilton was struggling, and today I'll check it out, so don't go anywhere. The news that Lewis Hamilton had signed a multi-year deal with Ferrari was released before the 2024 season had even begun, so the excitement levels for finally seeing the seven-time world champion in red are sky high. After 12 years and 6 individual titles with Mercedes, Hamilton, who turns 40 in January, is leaving to partner Charles Leclerc at the Italian team. The first glimpse of Hamilton driving for Ferrari will probably be at pre-season testing in Bahrain from the 26th to the 28th of February, before the 2025 season opener in Australia from the 14th to the 16th of March. There is also a planned drive for Hamilton in a current Ferrari car during a filming day. Lewis's new team boss, Fred Vasseur, has refused to give a date for the test, saying it is closely linked to the weather. Ferrari won't want to waste one of their 2 allowed filming days for the year on a wet day. They'll want to ensure that Hamilton can get some dry running to help him get a feel for the car, and their sponsors would probably prefer some nice sunny photos of Hamilton in red rather than in the rain. The filming day is expected to be at one of Ferrari's test tracks, Fiorano at the factory or Mugello in Tuscany. Hamilton is also expected to move into a property in Italy, likely in Milan as part of his switch to Ferrari. The switch of teams is a massive move for the 7-time world champion, who's lived his Formula One career entirely in Britain so far. The move is coming after the most challenging season in Hamilton's career. His final deficit of 22 points to now ex-teammate George Russell was the 3rd largest of his career, behind only 22's deficit to Russell when Hamilton ran experimental setups for much of the year, and the 2011 season when Hamilton was beaten by Jenson Button. With Lewis's results having seemingly declined over the past 3 seasons, there have been questions about whether he is losing his edge. Some had even questioned whether Ferrari might regret their decision to drop Carlos Sainz for Hamilton. However, his new team principal, Vasseur, admitted that Lewis had had tough moments in qualifying, but added that he was never worried about the situation. The Frenchman pointed to Hamilton's very good races in Las Vegas and Abu Dhabi at the end of the season, and said he believed that the difficulty of handling his final season at Mercedes had an impact on his performances. Vasseur said, "I'm really convinced, and I don't want to blame Lewis or Mercedes, that this situation is not easy to manage, and I can understand if it is not going well. You can suffer in this relationship." He was not very well in his mind, and he was clear about this in Brazil, but he also did very well on the last couple of events, and I'm not worried at all. While Vasseur may not have been worried about what happened at Mercedes, people have been asking the question, what happened in 2024? Hamilton could not get comfortable with the car, and his constant complaints about his performance reflected that. Some people thought that Mercedes may have been favoring Russell with better setups and parts as they phased Hamilton out of the team, but according to Mercedes, it was just as simple as Hamilton's driving style not being a match with the W15. In qualifying in particular, this really showed. Over the 24-race season, which included 6 sprint events, Russell outqualified Lewis 24-6, with the tally being 19-5 if you exclude the sprints. That deficit to Russell was only a couple attempts at times, but with the F1 grid being so competitive last season, that was enough to drop Hamilton several places down the grid, which made his recoveries on Sundays harder. Mercedes thinks a double whammy of sensitivity to brake locking and snaps of oversteer during qualifying runs were the trigger for the difficulties Lewis Hamilton had in 2024. Mercedes head of trackside engineering Andrew Chauvelin said that while a poor-performing car made life difficult for Lewis, there were specific difficulties which caused a deficit to George. "The car hasn't been quick enough, and that's been the thing that we've been trying to solve," said Chauvelin, reflecting on the more general difficulties with the car. "The car hasn't been easy to get into a nice balance window, and particularly once you get there, keeping it there has been a challenge." Chauvelin detailed that there were some specifics on those qualifying runs that Hamilton was not especially comfortable with. "The issue really for him has just been when you're trying to extract that last tenth or two," he said. "It's been difficult in terms of trying to avoid brake locking, trying to avoid snaps on exit. It's just those issues. But the way the team looks at that is that we needed to give Lewis a car more like the one we had in Vegas, where it does suit his style and he can do his best work with it. The issue is even more specific than just avoiding brake locking though. Many drivers who are normally strong on the brakes have struggled to show those qualities in the ground effect cars, but for Hamilton in particular, it is the turning that he likes to do during the braking phase which has held him back most. Hamilton gets a lot of his lap time by rotating the car while braking, something known as trail braking, though a level above anything that anyone else can manage. To make that style work, he needs a very predictable rear end and braking system. If the car is oversteering, meaning the rear end is a little loose, then he can't get his rotating done during the braking phase of the corner, as he doesn't have the confidence that the rear end won't just spin out, taking him off the track or even worse into the wall. And when he does try to rotate the cars during the braking phase, he builds temperature in the tyres due to them sliding, which then wears the rear tyres excessively. This effect is so severe that over the course of a single qualifying lap, he could raise the temperature of the rears so much that he was losing tenths of a second of lap time to his teammate, which explains why Russell dominated him during qualifying, but the actual time gap between them was relatively small. Fortunately for Hamilton, he's done with that Mercedes car now. But will his new Ferrari car suit him better? Well, before I talk about that, if you're enjoying the video and want to catch some more daily F1 content, then make sure to give the video a like and subscribe to F1 Reverse. Thanks a lot. So will Hamilton match up with the Ferraris better? Well, Mark Hughes wrote a fantastic piece for the race recently, in which he suggested that Hamilton would find a car that suits him far better at Ferrari. He said that Leclerc also likes to do a lot of his turning during the braking phase, and that when Charles had found success in 2024, it was at the lower speed tracks where the team could run a little more rear wing, giving Leclerc more control over his rear end when turning. At the end of his piece, Mark said, "So we have a scenario with Hamilton in a 2025 Ferrari where he might just find a car which overlaps with his natural style much better than Mercedes of the last few years, with a mechanical suppleness which overcomes the inflexible nature of these cars." So, if Hamilton was stepping into a 2024 Ferrari, then he could have found himself in a car which he may have really enjoyed. However, that won't be the case. Fred Vasseur has been very upfront recently about Ferrari's plans for next season. The team will be making some huge changes to the front end of the car, where the suspension will become a pull rod design, following the philosophy already used by McLaren and Red Bull. Linked to that massive mechanical change, the aerodynamic surfaces of the car will also undergo a strong restyling. Surprisingly, compared to the car that won 5 of the 24 races during the season just ended, Vasseur stated that the 2025 Ferrari will share less than 1% of the current car. So will Hamilton find a car that suits him better in 2025 at Ferrari? Well, the truth is that until we see pre-season testing results, we just won't know. Do you think he'll find success at Ferrari, or will he encounter the same struggles as he has at Mercedes in 2024? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you want to support the channel, then make sure to check out our merch store at f1reverse.com to get yourself some sweet Formula 1 inspired merch. Until next time, drive safe and bye for now.